I don't know if you've heard it, but Europe, as we knew it, is just a few years away from a complete breakdown. Not only in terms of the nation states as such, the European Union as such, but also internal law and order. The reason being that we are being inundated by millions of so-called refugees. Rather, they are economic immigrants from Africa, Northern Africa and Middle Africa and the Middle East. I think last year we had an influx of more than 1 million. Over the next few years, the German authorities are expecting more than 3 million people from these areas who had proven to be impossible to integrate for the reason that they don't have the skills nor the inclination to become part of our populations, our societies. We have seen, as you may have heard, a breakdown of law and order in our big cities. Just a few months ago, there was a mass violation of women in Cologne. We had the same thing in Kalmar in Sweden and in other places in Europe. People who come to our countries now are being presented by the authorities as refugees. As a matter of fact, it's only a small minority who can claim to be fleeing from war in such places as Syria. The vast majority have nothing to do with being refugees. They are simply migrants who want to come to our countries and take advantage of our welfare states. They don't have to. If we talk about Denmark, where I come from, people don't have to work. They can come into our country and claim any benefits that a Dane can claim, meaning free housing, free health service, free education, money if you don't have any, and they can also claim the protection of our laws and any other benefit that accrues to us. And we have to pay for it. And the Danish welfare state, of course, is breaking down. We have cuts upon cuts in our welfare system, which was built over 1 century. And every dime we can save goes towards these foreigners who come uninvited and claim all the benefits from day one. And this is just one example. The same thing goes for, of course, Britain and Sweden, in particular Germany and other countries. The thing that we are suffering from basically is that a few years ago the members of the European Union, most of them at least, joined into an arrangement called the Schengen Agreement, which meant that the European Union promised to protect our outer borders. I mean, the borders around the European Union. In exchange for that, the nation states, the member states, gave up their external border controls. That means you can freely pass from Germany to Denmark, from Denmark to Sweden, from Germany to Austria, etc. And this you can do. The problem is that the European Union, which is a master con artist, did not keep its part of the promise. The outer borders do not exist. Anyone can get into Europe. Currently it's mostly through Greece. It's also been through Italy, to some extent through Spain. And once they're inside the European Union, they can move freely to any country with the most advantageous social system, which means they come to Northern Europe. They come to Germany, they come to Denmark, Holland, Sweden, and I guess to some extent also to Britain. Anyone can see that you cannot maintain a welfare state under these circumstances. The welfare state was based on the principle that you do what you have to do and then you get your reward. First you do your duty and then you reap the benefits. We now have a system where you don't do anything. You reap the benefits and you rip off the native population whose parents and grandparents have toiled to create this kind of society. You don't have it to that extent in the US, but this was the way we had it in Europe, and this will go down in flames. Not only that, we cannot maintain even the nation states any longer. These will also be dissolved in just a few years, for the reason that if you have increasing populations or parts of the population that will not integrate, will not be part of your democratic polity, then of course what you get is a system of parallel societies, enclaves where certain people live, enclaves where other types of people live. They will not have much to do with each other except for intermittent, low-intensity warfare and bitterness and acrimonious behavior. We see that in every European country today. Even in my country, there are parts of the cities where the police dare not operate unless they come in force, where the fire brigade cannot come unless it's under police protection, and where law and order does not exist. So the writ of the law will not run throughout the national territory, which means that the state is no longer sovereign. And of course you can see where this will end. This will end in breakdown, this will end in warfare, this will end in bloodshed. Now you could also ask, why are our politicians allowing this? Because they could stop it if they wanted to. You could certainly seal our borders. Denmark has an army, which is quite good. We have an air force, we have a navy, we have special forces. All of these forces are now operating outside of Europe. We've been participating in every war for the past 20 years, in ex-Yugoslavia, in Bosnia, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and this is where our forces are currently operating. They should be operating back home to defend us against the onslaught, which I think is planned. This is not something that happens by chance. The immigration wave towards Europe, I think, is planned, as Frank mentioned. It's also planned and facilitated by Turkey. They do not seal their borders. They allow anyone who can come to Turkey to get across the ocean to Greece. And I think that's a planned policy to bring down Western civilization. The big question that I cannot answer is, why would our politicians permit this to happen? The present Danish government was elected just half a year ago, promising people that they would seal the borders. They have done exactly the opposite. And I'm at a loss to understand why they would do that, but perhaps that's a question for another day. Thank you.